Markets are setting new all-time high. Nasdaq up 4.25% last week. But you are not surprised because you have been following Trading Tips with Jim, and I told you this would happen. And what a weekend last week was. I had the most amazing finds during the weekend, and if you follow a little bit and watch the YouTube version, you will see it a bit later in this podcast for week 27, which will be a shorter one. Not because there's fewer things happening in the market, the quarter season is getting to an end, but simply because it's summer and you should enjoy the summer while it still is here. So let's just sprint into it. What is expecting us this week after all the incredible gains last week, where Nasdaq, as I said, was up 4.25%, Dow Jones up 3.82%, and S&P 500 up 3.43%. Buy signals are starting to get to the upper end, and we are getting close to a period where it will cool a little bit down. But will it be this week? Well, I will try to give you the insights into what I think. But you, my friend, you have to press the like button, you have to subscribe or follow if we are to continue this journey together. And the buy and the sell signal says that right now 40% of all stocks that we analyze, more than 50,000 stocks are into this signal, is showing buy. 40%, that's starting to get very high. Last time it happened was week 24, followed by a few by different reactions around the world. US held up good, but some markets did not. The good thing is Nasdaq, and we mainly follow the US market, is still only 22% buy signals, giving much more room for upturn in especially Nasdaq, tech stocks, etc. And I told you this also many weeks ago. New York Stock Exchange is getting high 42, London 46, Oslo Stock Exchange 41, Frankfurt 27, National Stock Exchange of India is 45, Tokyo 46, and Shenzhen China up from 16 last week to 41% buy signals. When the signals are getting too high, there will be a correction. At the same time, you are in the phase where markets usually get into frantic mood. This is when they are oversold, when markets are too low amount of buy signals, too much sell signals. You can have these huge falls to 4-5% in a single day. And at the same time, it's the same thing when it is like now on the upper end of buy signals. Markets can just get frantic, pushing much higher. And I believe it's a fair chance that this week will continue somewhat like last week, but for sure this is also where you should consider maybe to secure some gains. And to make a long story short, for those following me know that I am weighting my positions in the market up and down, and I went fully in some weeks ago when Nvidia, for instance, was 88, Tesla was down at 200 and some 30. I said, now I'm selling my gold, I'm pushing it all into the stock markets because I believe this would happen. I will slowly start to reduce my exposure in the stock market, but I believe we are in for a fantastic rest of 2025. Everything is signaling that. And I urge you always to try to think about the big lines. Don't try to pitch on the very short, because it's so easy to miss a day, to miss a week, to get it wrong. But it's easier to make the long lines correct. And what are the long lines? In my opinions, they are. I believe that we have the Middle East settled at least for a while. That's a good thing. We are getting closer to some sort of agreement around Ukraine. All economic numbers are starting to slowly show exactly what would happen when oil price going down, and oil is down at 65, falling further. This will just reduce inflation. It will give a boost to all sorts of energies. And I believe, as I said before, that interest rates will come down much faster than people believe. Same with inflation. We will go for a very strong period where companies are going to grow even more than before. And that being the long lines, they are ticking in one result after the other. It's peace deals made around the world, different places. There is so much happening at the good end of things, but all of this gets so discarded in the media, and that is why you always should make up your own mind. I've been right so far. Will I be wrong? Will we head for a huge fall? Well, for this to happen, I believe that we need some really, really bad things coming out. These bad things may inflation going on a rampage, which I don't believe. And on Thursday, there will be export and imports number. Exports in US is expected to be 289 billions, while imports is expected to be 351 billion, meaning that there is still a deficit in the trade. But I will not be surprised if markets will get caught on the bed, that numbers will be much more better than this. Maybe even first time US will hit for a surplus. Anyway, this is what I think market will look at. The professionals, they saw through all the noise in the media. They saw through everything. They just laughed with the narrative, investing heavily, and now they are raking in. And if you look at the 10-year Treasury yield, it keeps coming down. It's 4.27, and that just means that more and more people are betting on a better economy. Despite you hearing everything else being said, they are. Markets usually like to focus on small things, and they say, oh, interest rates will be due to this and that. Inflation ticked marginally higher up last week, but we have to understand that also oil price for a short period was a little up. We had the tariff things, but it ticked up just minor. It's still much, much lower than it ever been. And if you fill your car with gasoline, you should have noticed that the price at the tank is falling every single day almost, and this makes for your life much easier, and now interest rates will come down as well. That's my bet. Anyway, Powell will speak on Tuesday. We'll know a little bit more what he thinks. You will have job opening numbers, which expected to be less jobs open, going down from 7.4 to 7.3 million. We know there is a restructuring, not only because of Dodge, but in general there is a restructuring due to all AI coming in. This was announced maybe 1 or 2 years ago by big companies like Microsoft, Meta. All of them said that they will restructure to be more efficient using new technology. On Thursday, by the way, will be the unemployment numbers. They're expected to creep up from 4.2% unemployment to 4.3%. If it creeps up, everyone will argue that Powell have to speed up his rate cuts, which by the way still signals 2 during 2025. I think there will be more. My guess is that we can get up to 4 of them, or we can have 1 major followed by 2 smaller. Anyway, we will see. Wednesday will be total vehicle sales, where amount of vehicles sold in US expected to drop by 200,000 cars. This is more interesting if you are into automotive and if you follow economy and you try to read numbers. There is no big surprise that people are a bit skeptical. I mean, just look at what is puked out on the ether all the time, how bad things are. Well, they indeed are not bad. We still have the huge credit card delinquency, which was followed by last 4 years overspending. These things will still haunt us for a little bit. But again, the long lines, in my opinion, is that we are heading for a very, very good decade. We are getting close to a short-term reaction since markets been going very, very high up lately, but we are not anywhere close to doomsday as is. So there you had it. You have some economic numbers coming out. The quarter results is just a few. It's Stellantis on Tuesday and Ferrywool on Thursday. These are the biggest companies. And last week, my saying into BlackBerry went totally correct. BlackBerry had an amazing upturn, and everything indicates that BlackBerry may continue this journey. Usually I give you some stocks to watch, but this week I will not. You have to change, you have to look for yourself, try to find the in lists, find out your strategy and find the lists accordingly to this that fits your, if you go as a technical trader, you go for low RSI, or if you go for trends, which is my really strong suggestion, find stocks in good rising trends, because trend is your friend after all. And there is lists more or less for everything. You can go for pivot tops, you can go for golden star, you can go for a lot of things. But if you remember what I said just a few minutes ago, we are getting closer to some sort of top. I believe there might be a better buying opportunity coming in. While I believe this week will be good, I believe a lot of stocks may go sky high during the week. I will not be surprised if numbers in the market will be as good as last week, meaning Nasdaq up 4% over the week. Will not be surprised at all. At the same time, I will not be surprised if we suddenly see a dip, because we are just there. And then giving you stock tips which have a high chance of failure is not the best thing to do. So my best tips is, if you're a day trader, of course I will maybe not sit too much overnight. I will go in and out, use the day swings. And if you are really looking for stocks to buy, maybe you should look for undervalued stocks that haven't followed the last upturn where there still is room, because when people believe that things are getting a bit high, they shift the focus, they go for stocks which they think have some potential. Second runners, third runners, usually a big rally is ended by third runners going. And by this I mean the smallest of the shittiest biotech companies. When these are starting to run, that is getting close to the end. I have seen a few of them, of course, but not seen a major of them going, so I don't think we are anywhere close there. And Nasdaq only 22% buy signals somewhat the same. So I don't think we are there at all. This upturn is just a natural one. I think there will be a slight downturn, maybe next week, we will see. But in the meantime, you just have to use all of your skills. And what I wanted to say, almost forgot this. Maybe you should think about good dividend stocks, good paying dividend stocks, and stocks with great support below, because then you still have the upturn. You have dividends. If market should take a little dip, some of these stocks will not fall as much as, for instance, Nvidia or Tesla. I'm in both, so I'm arguing a bit by myself. But you saw Tesla was up at 350 or something, down to 320 very easily, 10% overnight, very easily fast. And the same thing can happen to Nvidia again, despite Nvidia showing all signs of having a great future. So now it's sneaking up by 0.5% every day, and it may continue, but at the same time I'm just saying that it can be a 5 to 7% downturn in Nvidia, while some other stocks like Coca-Cola, Berkshire Hathaway, some of these stocks, in my opinion, if market takes a slight pause, small dip, will held up very good. Leaves us for only one thing. 13 minutes into the podcast, I probably will be able to round it around 15 minutes, because it's only the $1,000 challenge left, but I try to grow $1,000 as fast as I can. I am into NEO. I will stay in NEO. NEO had a marginal week last week, only up a few cents. Currently the $1,000 challenge is sitting at 2,443, and I strongly believe it will go up. And I am a person of great belief. I follow my instincts, and this weekend I did that. I followed my instincts. I went to a place which I always wanted to go. Those follow me knows that I do a lot of metal detecting. It's my hobby, and I will leave you with a video showing exactly what I found in the weekend. And I hope you will have a super weekend. I hope NEO will go up. As I said, it stays in the $1,000 challenge. And I hope you like, subscribe, and we'll be back, and I will be back next week. Until then, just have a super week. Bye! Fy faen, se på det da! Jesus! Og det fjerde, vet du, det fjerde!
Welcome to StockInvest.us Stock Analysis. We remind you that trading involves a high risk of losing money, and that you should speak with a financial advisor before buying or selling any securities. You should not base your investment decision upon StockInvest.us. By using the information you agree and are held liable for your own investment decisions.